lots and lots of EV chargers to make electric vehicles more appealing to people. They have given grants to all sorts of cities and other folks to install them around the state. And in particular, what caught my eye last year is two of them, one in Tumwater and one in Bellingham, where they installed solar powered EV chargers. Now, that sounds great, except that the cost in Tumwater is about $100,000 for one EV charger. And that is about $85,000 more than a standard EV charger. So you're spending $100,000 instead of $15,000. Now, what do you get for that? And the answer is basically nothing, because solar powered EV chargers have the capacity to deliver far less electricity charge per day than a grid powered, which is essentially limitless. Um, and the difference in terms of CO2 from getting it from the sun, from getting it from the electricity that we normally have, which is mostly hydro, nuclear, wind. So even the CO2 reduction isn't very much. So it's just an incredibly expensive way to build an EV charging station, or EV charging network rather. And you don't even get very much in terms of environmental benefit. And lastly, the things that we could do with that $85,000. There's lots of stuff that we could do to reduce CO2, save salmon, make forests healthy. I mean, if you're spending that kind of money and just essentially wasting it or in excess, and then you turn around and say, hey, why haven't we funded all these other environmental programs? Well, that's why, because we spent the money on something we don't need. They told the city council, when the city council approved it, was that it could charge up to 300 miles a day. But the company itself, which is based in Arizona, said, "Oh no, it can only get 265." So even their estimate was wrong. And of course, when you do the calculations for Tumwater, Washington, which is not Phoenix, Arizona, it is literally the worst place in America for solar power, the number was far less. So the number that they were quoting to the city council was not only beyond the maximum that the company said, but was not appropriate for Tumwater, Washington. So
And
it
that's just
was,
because it's cloudy most of the time.
that's exactly right. So the National Renewable Energy Laboratory has a map of solar irradiation for all parts of the country. Alaska is sort of different because it's so far north, but outside of Alaska, Western Washington is literally the worst place in the country. And so the numbers were wrong completely to start with, but it's now been installed for 10 months. And they're far below even that, even the low estimate that we came up with for last year.
Wow, so you got the new numbers. So tell us how fruitful this project has been.
Yeah. So the actual usage, it varies, but the actual usage, if you average it out over the 10 months, is about 27 miles per day of charge. 27 miles. So again, they sold this saying, oh, it could be 300 miles a day, and the actual is less than a tenth of that amount. And again, they've spent an additional $85,000 on this, and they're getting just tiny amounts of electricity. So the question, so what they then say is, well, okay, yes, it's not living up, but still it's reducing CO2 emissions. So if you use that, if you say, okay, it's completely carbon free compared to Puget Sound Energy, which is the utility there, then what you find is that it has reduced about, I'm sorry, let me get my calculations here. I had them just in front of me. Okay, so they said it's delivered 1.7 megawatt hours of electricity in the first 7 months. That's about 1,400 pounds of CO2. That is nothing. Uh, on current prices, that's worth about $37. So you spent $85,000 to save $37 in the first 10 months. Now, well, let's say this list lasts for 20 years. It won't, but let's say it lasts for 20 years. That's less than $1,000 of value that you spent $85,000 extra today for. So
Wow.
it's incredibly wasteful, not just in terms of taxpayers and waste and all these sorts of things, not just because the people using the charging station tend to be wealthy and actually don't even need it, but even as an environmental policy, it's incredibly wasteful.